Hello, I'm Erin Margolis, CEO of Game Dev House, where we educate gamers on how to make their own games. Today, we are here with Jack Liu of Digital Possum. He's going to show us the 5 top reasons of why we should use Unity.
Hey everyone. My name is Jack, and I started a game studio last April. And so today I'm going to tell you guys why you should use Unity. So I'm going to start my slides, and then what we'll do is I'll give you guys the top 5 reasons, and then afterwards Erin will we'll do some Q&A, and I'll even talk a little bit about the game industry and how indie devs like you guys and myself can be successful in this business. Can you guys see my slides?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So just some intro. I grew up playing video games, so for me this just seemed like to be the perfect industry for me. One of my first games I enjoyed playing was Double Dragon, and I just really liked the game. And this was back in the day with NES, and then afterwards you can start to see the trend that I started to like fighting games really early on. The next game that I really enjoyed was Street Fighter 2, and I just remember those days when we go into arcades and we just spend tons of quarters, and leaving feeling very good about ourselves because we just pulled off like some crazy combo. And then right around high school, I started playing Diablo 2, and I think I really enjoyed it because of the replayability in the game, and of course I just love all Blizzard games. And then just most recently, this game is Bastion, and I played this on the iPhone, and it was such a great storytelling game that it just really sucked you in, and the art was amazing. So shortly afterwards, I had an opportunity to start a game studio. When I was younger, I just thought, yeah, it would be so cool to create games, but it wasn't the economics didn't work out that well at the time. To publish a game, it was going to cost thousands of dollars. But with the app market and what Apple has done, they made it extremely inexpensive to publish your own game, and that was just really fascinating. So so as I said, I started my first game actually launched April 4th, 2013. I spent about a month working on that game. I did some research back March of that year. So right, early on in that year, January and February, there was a game that came out. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. It's called Four Pigs One Word, and it went to the top of the charts, #1, and it was there for it held that spot for over a month. So and I looked at that game and I thought, wow, this is such a simple game. It didn't cost them that much to make. Very simple trivia game, a couple of screens, and now they're making at that time, from my estimate, doing something like $15,000 a day. And so I thought, well, I can do this. And so what I did was I took the gameplay mechanic that I saw that was working, and I took the business model that was working with in-app purchases, and I repackaged the content for an audience that I knew, which was the Christian community. So as you can see here, the Bible Trivia app, that's my first game that I ever did. And since then, I took the same source code and I again repackaged the content for a movie trivia game and several other trivia games that uses the same game engine. And so right now, I'm about 500,000 downloads, I believe, across Apple, Google, and Amazon. And the reason, the talk is for top 5 reasons Unity is because my first game was developed in Unity, and it wasn't planned on it. But because it was developed in Unity, it's allowed me to expand into different platforms very easily. So again, here we go, the top 5 reasons. First one, as I mentioned, Unity allowed us to port our game very quickly and inexpensively to the platforms. This image here is from Unity, and it shows the platforms as of now that they can port to. So we're looking at iOS, Windows, uh, Android, which includes Google and Amazon, Steam, which basically covers has like a 50% market share on desktop PC publishing. We're talking Linux here. We're talking Xbox, PS3, PS4. So you develop on Unity, you can port your game everywhere. And so just to give you an idea on how much it costs to port, when I went from iOS to Google, it was 50% of how much I spent on the original game. And then when I went to Amazon, it was 50% of what I spent to go from iOS to Google. So it's a quarter. And so the economics really, really add up in your favor. And so, if you create a game on any of these platforms, right, you choose one to start. Let's say it was iOS, and if you have $1,000 to spend on marketing, what would you do, right? What would you spend it on ads, trailers, right? Because a video trailer costs about $1,000. What's the best way to spend that money? My opinion is that you use that $1,000 and you port it to another platform, because that gives you more reach, more revenue. So that's number 5. Well, what about Swift? When Apple recently in their keynote, they introduced the new programming language. How does that affect Unity? Actually, it only makes using Unity stronger. If you're a C, Objective-C developer, you're not quite obsolete, but you will have to learn Swift. And Swift enables Metal, which is quoted here, new technology, basically optimizes performance. That's really what Swift is about. Now, Unity has come out and said, we're very excited to be supporting Metal. And so now Unity just is an even much stronger reason to be used in your programming, in your games, because not only are you going multi-platform, but the performance on Unity is just increased, by maybe 2 or 3 times. So, really, there's really no reason not to use Unity, even if you're making just iOS games. So, next reason, number 4. Unity is great because you don't have to start from scratch. And as a game developer, indie developers, we tend to want to start from scratch because we're programmers. But that will really limit your speed to ship. Unity has this asset store where you can buy components of games. So you can buy particle and physics engines. You can buy even complete games like this one shown here. So this is a complete 2D infinite runner game that you can buy for $55. Complete. You can even see a demo of it running. And so what you can do is you buy this, and then you can go in and start modifying it to however you want it to look. So this game, when I looked at it, it runs like Jetpack Joyride, and so it's got the touch gesture. It's got the coin store to buy upgrades, and this is very, very efficient for getting something out for $55. It could take a programmer easily a month to do this. It probably took the guy who wrote this a month to put this out there, and now he's opened it up to everybody. And I'm sure the licensing is such that it's allowed to be used commercially. So I just want to make a quick point here. If you're the type of person that likes to create game engines and game components and game APIs instead of actual games, then maybe selling that component that you just built on Unity Asset Store, that may be a better business model for you. If you want to actually make game, you're going to tend to buy a lot of these assets. So just something to think about. People can make money both ways. So okay, number 3. Unity with Unity, that that your hourly rate, if you were to be uh, doing contract work, is higher than for someone who just knows Objective C or Java for Android or even Swift, because people know that the people that are contracting that out, they know Unity is multi-platform, and they're willing to pay for that cost upfront instead of and then save that money later on when they don't need to rewrite the game in the native language for another platform. So so you can be a paid mercenary, with this valuable skill of Unity, and as a paid mercenary, you get the benefit of being in the game industry, building experience, and building connections. Because really, you know, you can't expect, anybody, indie developers can't expect to, make, make $1 million hit on the first try. It happens, but it's very rare. A great example here is Blizzard. They actually started out as paid mercenaries. They were contractors, and so they developed experience over time. And it wasn't until I believe 4 years that they started the game company before before they even created Warcraft, like Warcraft 1. We're not talking about Warcraft 2. So it took them 4 years before they actually made their own IP. Just something to think about, because being in the game industry, it's all about longevity. The longer you stay in the game, the more experience you have, the more likely you're to get lucky. So another reason, number two, is 2D is coming if not already part of Unity. Unity for a while was always known for making 3D games, but because of mobile, because of the whole indie revolution, 2D came back pretty strong, and now Unity is going to come out to support 2D graphics and make it a lot easier. Right now, there are other frameworks that allow you to do 2D, such as Coco's 2D, Corona, but these platforms, these frameworks don't have the Unity asset store, and you can't buy components. So really, your best bet is Unity. And so here are some of the games that were done on Unity, and these are 2D games. This one is Adventure Time, and this is a repackaging of the game Ski Safari. And this is done in Unity for Cartoon Network, and this was in the top charts. The next one is Kingdom Rush, the original one. These guys were from Brazil. I believe they made the game on Steam first, using Unity, and then ported over to iOS. So, and finally, the number one reason to use is because it's free. For any developer, until you hit $100,000 in revenue, you can use Unity for free, which includes the component or the plugin to port your game over to on mobile. And I saw a question one time. Someone asked in the forum, "What is a game someone developed using the free version of Unity that was a hit?" And the one that came to mind, this was about a couple of months ago, and it's a game called I'm going to pull it right here on my phone. It's called Block Legend, and this was featured by Apple, done in Unity. It was free. They had the free license, and you can usually tell because when you open the game, you saw something called Powered by Unity. Now, this guy, he used a free tool to make a game that got featured by Apple, and it was in the top grossing charts. So by this point, it's just a great way to build your revenue without having to spend a lot of money up front. And to me, this is like the best free-to-play deal ever, in my opinion. You can use it until you need to, then you pay. It's a win-win for everybody. So, I also want to talk a little bit about the game industry and what's worked for me. So maybe you guys can apply this for when you guys make your own games and hopefully ship those games. So, you know, I've these are the roles that I see that are critical in a game studio. Someone can do more than one of these roles if they're not that big. Uh, the developer, is usually separate from the graphics person, and then maybe the developer of graphics can do business development. But I always see the most important role here is the producer, someone who can see the project through from beginning to end, who can manage both the development and the graphics, the integration. That person will need to know a little bit about the marketing, about the market, and also how that game or that product fits in that market. But also, most importantly, just monetization. So the producer is sort of like a jack of all trades, or essentially, or the glue in a game studio, but he may be the most important person. Of course, I may be biased because that's the role that I play, but you won't find a successful studio without some form of a producer role. Now, this quote here is from the Bible, and it says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life," from Proverbs 13:12. Like, so, what does this have to do with game development? Well, usually, so I'll give you two examples. If you're a single game developer starting off, you have all these ambitions to make the next Call of Duty, right, or the Minecraft, because we all want to make something, great, that have a long legacy. So you start off with a ton of, enthusiasm, ton of energy, ton of adrenaline, and you're just pounding out code left and right for, a month or two, and you even, quit your own job, quit your day job. So, you have you have this hope that you are going to make it, right? Whether it's 6 months, right? If you plan for 6 months or a year, so you have this hope. But the longer the hope is deferred, it makes your heart sick, and you lose traction. You lose motivation to work on these games. You work on your own game, and so what turns out to be maybe a 3-month project turns out to be 6 months, then 12 months, And so as a result of the hope deferred, it just makes you you lose motivation. But the second part of the verse says, "A long fulfill is a tree of life." So the quicker you can get something out, the more fulfilled it is, the more motivation it's going to give you, the more adrenaline and energy it's going to give you, because you see how the whole process works and you know you can repeat it. So that's an example of when you are working by yourself. So what I've done is in partnerships. If you're a developer, likely your graphics aren't going to be that great, and you want to team up with someone who does great graphics. In my case, I didn't do either. I just did the marketing, and I knew I needed a rockstar programmer and a rockstar graphics designer. So, I needed a good way to bring these people in. I didn't, when I started out, I didn't say, hey, I have this great idea, I'm going to build the next League of Legends, and it's going to be a year, because that's terrible, right? Again, it's the hope deferred makes the heart sick. You can't possibly think you can build a League of Legends in a year unless you have significant funding. So what I tend to do is I'll tell my guys, hey, let's make a simple game to start off, maybe a week, 2 weeks, and then we'll launch it, and then we'll do it again. Because what does that do? The longing fulfilled, the longing of all of us launching a game together is fulfilled, and it becomes more motivation, more energy to make the next one. And yeah, at some point you can make a bigger and bigger game. And I've done that. I've done this multiple times now, where I'm able to get other people to work with me on a joint venture basis to do revenue share, because they can see that they can see the entire process of having a game actually published, because that's really what it comes down to, getting a game published. And again, this is the last point. You're not Blizzard. Blizzard, the reason they can delay their games until it's finished goes back to the history of one of their first games. they were part of a parent company that bought them out, and for them, their revenue was a margin of error in terms of accounting. So they were making so little in comparison to the parent company that it didn't even matter whether they actually that revenue came through or not, because it was an accounting error. So what Blizzard did in terms of revenue just didn't matter to the parent company. And so when the founders of Blizzard, when they realized the game wasn't finished yet, they said to the parent company, "Hey, can we have more time?" So the parent company is like, "Well, sure. It's not like you bring in even like 1% of our revenue. Who cares?" So they were able to have that time from the start of their company, and so they took that time to make a very, very good game. And the result, the fan base grew, and so they can keep doing this. But unless you had that advantage, we can't just wait, and wait and build the perfect product, because it may never come. So real entrepreneurs, in this case, real game developers, the real ones ship, not build, ship, publish. That's the only reason that matters. Because if you make a game and you think it's great, but it's never published, sorry to tell you, but it doesn't matter, to the rest of the world. It just didn't make a dent in the world because no one knew about it. So also know your minimum viable product. And for me, I like to think minimum viable revenue generating product. And so, if you want to make a simple game, at least just throw in ads so it generates some revenue for you. And also the last thing is get feedback and iterate. You put something out, you read your reviews if you're on iOS or any other mobile platform. You read the feedback that you get in the ratings or reviews, and you build on it. And over time, it becomes a great product. The example here is Angry Birds. When they first published, it wasn't a great product, but over time, it became that $1 million hit. So lastly, I just want to leave it off with this, that I believe that gamers make the best games because we played it, we know what's fun, and we want to do it because we just enjoy doing it. And the link here is to some resources that I found that would be very, very helpful. It's been very helpful for me, and I believe it'll be very helpful for you. So that's the end of the presentation. I will, we can start with some Q&A, and so the Q&A will come from Erin.
Well, that was very engaging. I enjoyed that.
Thanks.
Thank you. So, Unity. I have a bunch of notes that I jotted down, and I guess my first question is, have you ever wanted to work with Blizzard?
Yeah, sure. But I think they publish their own games. I don't think they're a publisher. Did I want to work at Blizzard? Maybe when I was younger, but I knew of the hours that someone would have to put in. We're talking minimum 10 hours a day, minimum, and it's like that in every game company. It's just because the deadlines are so strict. For the big guys, if you miss the deadline, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost people's jobs. So, yeah, when I was younger, yes. Now, no. But I think it's a great company. So.
Well, I can definitely tell that by your talk, and I think that's great how you mentioned a lot of comparison with Blizzard and Unity and tied it into your own work. So that worked really well. And with the short-term development cycles, have you yourself ever experienced a drawn-out one that just completely flopped? Like, did you have to learn through your own experience, or did you learn from watching others?
Let's see. I definitely learn through others. I don't want to. I'm trying to think of one, but not actually name it. No, but in my own case, I try to keep my games less than a month for the reason that I probably estimated wrong. It could, it could take actually 3 months. So the good rule is, multiply everything by three. If you
I
think
like
something's going
that.
to take 2 weeks, multiply by three, it's going to take 6 weeks. For whatever, there's always going to be something that happens. So yeah, right now we're working on a game, and it's a bigger hit. It's definitely an indie game. But I can do that now because I'm not hurting for cash flow. I wouldn't have done this early on, and so we definitely run into a snag, but and it's taking about it's take we did development for 3 months. Um, Now we're kind of hitting a snag, but that's okay because I know that we can always bring it back on track, and I plan to do that within a month. So with that time that we have, that we're not working on that project, we're working on smaller games now. And so you always want to keep building games, and not just building games, keep publishing games because that's what's going to build your experience in the market. It really, it doesn't matter how much time you spend making a game. It's all about how much time you spend learning the market, publishing games, and building your revenue stream so that you can keep doing it over and over again.
Hmm. Well, you're one of the first people that I've heard in indie development put as much emphasis on the producer role because mostly it's on the developing of the game without much of a plan. So
Yeah,
it sounds like you've got this down to a science, pretty well.
not complete, but I'm working on it because ultimately you want some type of system. Every big publisher, successful ones like EA, like Blizzard, even Insomniac, which they consider themselves small, but to us, to me, I think they're big. They have a system, and the way that works is actually very interesting. So because these guys are business guys, they're publishers. They think about jobs. They think about when to create a new IP, and it's very interesting. So for example, new IPs, new intellectual property games, they usually don't come out unless a new console or new like a next generation console comes out. So of course, what do we have, right? Recently, we have PS4, and we see a lot of new IPs because this is from what I read, because publishers can take that risk in creating new IPs because they know that consumers will likely test the market with the new console, and so there's just like I would say call it attraction of people, going towards the new console, and so of course with new console they're going to need next generation games, and so we see Watch Dogs being out on PS4. I believe Titanfall, and I even believe the new Call of Duty. That's not really a new IP, but Titanfall definitely is. And so these are new games, new IPs on next generation consoles. And then publishers they tend to create sequels to their existing IPs. And fans kind of complain like why they do that because it's just new content. But it's really important to sustain that franchise and to really create and maintain jobs. So these are things that indie developers should think about. Maybe not early on, but they should think about this.
Right. After acquiring a skill set, it's even more valuable to learn how to place that and then duplicate it over and over to achieve multiple successes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today with this presentation. I'm really blown away by, I think you have it down to a science and that other people should follow this type of pattern to gain that type of success in their own lives, especially that short-term iterative development cycle. I think that is so important.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so thanks for joining us, and I guess I'll close it out for everyone. We will see you next time with Game Dev House.
So long.